From Washington, this is VOA News. Chinese families mourn the stampede victims, and the ISS resupply mission is scrubbed at the last minute. I'm Francis Alonso reporting from Washington. Mourners returned to the site of the New Year's Eve stampede in Shanghai, China, today, marking 7 days since a tragedy at the height of the Chinese mourning period. Government-issued chaperones accompanied family members of the 36 stampede victims to the site, where each small group was allowed to remain before briefly being escorted away. Some visitors moaned and wailed in grief or resisted being led away. Witnesses say the stampede broke out when people rushed to pick up fake money that had been thrown from a third-story window. Meanwhile, police say they are investigating the cause of that stampede. Today's launch of the unmanned cargo ship to the International Space Station by a private company was canceled shortly before liftoff from the U.S. spaceport in Florida.
DC verified Dragon has aborted and is in a stable configuration.
Dragon has aborted and is in manual.
And the countdown has aborted for this morning.
The countdown for the launch of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket was halted with just 1 minute left due for an unexpected technical problem. The U.S. Space Agency NASA says it will attempt to launch the cargo ship early Friday morning. Egyptian security officials say gunmen have killed 2 policemen who were guarding a Coptic Christian church south of Cairo. The attack happened Tuesday in Minya, a city on the Nile River about 250 kilometers from the capital. On Wednesday, the Coptic Christians celebrate Christmas. It's a holiday that brings increased security at churches. Christians have long complained of discrimination and have been targeted along with their churches. This is VOA News. A U.S.-based human rights group is calling on Germany to press Ukraine's prime minister to ensure Ukrainian forces take all the precautions to minimize harm to civilians and their fight against pro-Russian separatists in eastern Ukraine. Human Rights Watch released a statement Tuesday saying German Chancellor Angela Merkel should emphasize to Ukrainian Prime Minister Arseniy Yatsenyuk the need to issue specific orders to Ukrainian troops not to use certain explosive weapons in areas populated by civilians. Ms. Merkel and Mr. Yatsenyuk are set to meet Thursday in Berlin. The head of Indonesia's National Search and Rescue Agency says the search area for the wreckage and victims of Air Asia Flight 8501 is being expanded as a hunt for the plane's black boxes or flight data recorders continues. Henry Bongbong Solisto made the announcement at a news conference Tuesday, saying authorities are opening up a second priority search area in the Java Sea off Indonesia. He says all underwater devices have started to reveal search location priority. Meanwhile, forensic experts from Australia have been working with Indonesia to assist in identifying bodies. The U.S. ski team is in shock after an avalanche in the Austrian Alps took the lives of 2 members of the team's developmental program. Monday's incident took place near the Rottenbach Glacier in the mountains of the western Austrian resort of Solden, which is the venue for the annual season opening World Cup races. Tom Kelly is with the U.S. Ski and Snowboarding Association.
2 helicopters came in and an extensive search. Ultimately, they were able to extricate the bodies, and sadly, they were pronounced dead at the scene.
6 American team members were skiing in a group and apparently set off that avalanche when they left the prepared slope. 4 skied out of that slide and were unharmed. However, those killed were named as 20-year-old Ronnie Burlap and 19-year-old Bryce Astle. Pakistani lawmakers have passed a constitutional amendment that would allow the military to set up courts to try terrorism cases for 2 years. The lower house of parliament overwhelmingly approved the measure Tuesday. It goes next to the upper house and expected to become law later this week. The U.S. Coast Guard says the number of Cubans picked up at sea trying to reach the United States has surged since President Barack Obama announced plans to restore diplomatic relations with Havana. Coast Guard officials say vessels picked up 121 Cuban migrants at sea last week and returned them to the island. Coast Guard Rear Admiral Jake Cord said Monday that there's no change in U.S. immigration policy regarding Cuba. He said only Congress can change the so-called Wet Foot, Dry Foot Act, which allows Cubans to reach the U.S. to stay. I'm Frances Alonso in Washington.
That's the latest world news from VOA.